apologize for being a minute or two late. I think we're going to have an excellent show. I just realized I had presented Ryan a while ago and forgot to take it off of him while we were talking. Sorry about that too. Anyway,
my mom's sorry too.
we got a good show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about the Raspberry Pi stuff, and some of you know I've mentioned it on the shows before. I bought one of these Raspberry Pi kits. I guess it's called a starter kit or something. And I haven't done a thing with it. In fact, I just took it out of the box basically tonight. But hopefully after tonight's show, I've got my pen and my paper. I'm going to be taking notes while Ryan's talking and showing us about this stuff. And I'm anxious to learn about this kind of technology because I don't really know anything about it. But I like the fact that it's really small, compact, and cheap. Cheap is always good. So anyway, Javi, I'm gonna go let you introduce yourself real quick.
All right. Good evening, all. I am calling from it's a remote location, we'll just say, and my name is Javier Unzueta. I am Javi's Woodshop on YouTube. Go by and see Hoarding to Boarding, or watch as I, over the next 4 years, show you how to hunt for a property, build on a property, and build my shop from soup to nuts. Should be interesting if I can get through it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to all of that. Yeah, we've got a good crowd over there already tonight. Tonight, my guest is Ryan Ballard. I guess I officially met him, well, kind of yesterday. We did kind of a test hangout. But he is using a Raspberry Pi for his CNC stuff. So Ryan, what prompted you when you started doing the CNC thing? What prompted you to try the Raspberry Pi?
A little bit of several things. One main thing though was cost. At that point, we had a lot of people having issues with another driver or setup that was a lot of people use, and so I was looking for other alternatives. And I had a Raspberry Pi here, and figured let's try it out and see what happens. So did some research on it. It's not that complicated. I'm gonna unfortunately disappoint everybody because it's not that bad. If I can figure it out, anybody can. So
okay, and I know it's cheap. All total, and by the way, folks, there's links to Ryan's YouTube channel and a couple of videos he's done about this Raspberry Pi CNC build. And then there's also you'll see some links for some of the stuff we're going to be talking about tonight, like the Raspberry Pi, the Premier CNC hat, some of that other stuff that we'll be talking. So there's links. If we mention something and you don't know what the heck's that, you can click and it'll show you what we're talking about. Yeah. So Ryan, what altogether then, with your Raspberry Pi and the hat and stepper motors and everything, what kind of money have you got tied up in that versus, like I say, a Xylotex or something like that?
Right. The altogether, I have less than $300. So if you look at the right now, the Raspberry Pi 3, which is the newest one, is like $35. And then the CNC hat by ProDenier is about $35, $37, something like that, dollars. And then I run external drivers on mine. You can actually run up to 2 amp drivers directly on the board, but I run external drivers. So like the little jumper pins that you put on to the hat, which I can show everybody. Those are like $5. And then I'm running, 48 volt power supply, and the DM542T drivers. So altogether, I have about $270 into it.
Okay, yeah, and that's a lot cheaper than a lot of other kits, and definitely cheaper than the Xylotex, because it's now, I think, $450, I believe, with the because he's coming out with that metal box. He's putting
that's a great deal.
Yeah, right now I'm running all my stuff open air. There's no fans on it. I run 3-4 hour carves, and you can easily touch everything. None of it's warm.
Yeah. Now I want to get back to something you mentioned just a second ago. You said that you're running the 542 external drivers, but you're talking about the little drivers that are actually on that hat. You could run something, as long as it's low amperage, you could run it directly from that and not have the external drivers. Is that
exactly? Yeah. There's I think it's pronounced Polalu drivers, the A4988s. You can get those up to 2 amps, and they'll just plug right into the hat, and then you run your wires right from there to the motors.
So, and the reason I'm asking this, if you were designing something, I don't want to give too much away here, but if you were designing something very small, and say you were going to use like NEMA 17 steppers, well, let's say something similar to that Go CNC that I have back there in the corner.
Yeah, this would be a perfect solution.
You could run it straight off using those little drivers on that hat and not have to. Okay.
Yeah, and then you can run you'd still run a external power supply for those drivers, something from 12 to 30 volts, but you don't have to. But you wire that directly to the board too. So the drivers are right there. Shoot, you blow one of them, they're $5 or something like that. You replace it and keep on running.
Yeah,
it's a real nice, tidy solution especially for a smaller machine.
Okay, that I need to pull the back cover off of that, because when I was putting that thing together, I wasn't paying that much attention. But everything, there's a power supply that connects. It's got a real small box in the back, a little metal box, and of course there's some kind of a card. But it must be something very similar to what this is.
It probably is. It's probably like an Arduino or something back there.
Yeah. So I'll have to open that up and look at it closer. Javi, have we got any questions over there in the chat?
I've got a couple. Now, can you feed G code directly into it, or with Mach 3, for instance?
The way that I wanted to do my whole machine was to make my wife not kill me, and spend as little outlay as I could initially. So I was looking. For my design work, I use easel from Inventables. It's free, and for the stuff that I do, it's been all right. It's not the perfect software, but it does fine for what I've been using it for. And then, so what I do is I generate my G code there, throw it on a flash drive, and dump it into the Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi, when the new ones already come downloaded with GRBL, Gerbil, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It has 1.1 on there already, and they install Bcnc, LaserWeb 3, CNCJS, Universal G Code Sender, and also the regular Raspberry Pi stuff that you can get, all on there already. So I use Bcnc for my G code processing, but and it's been working fine, no problems with it.
Sweet. So you so you're not using Mach 3 or Aspire. Mach 3 or Vectric. You're going on the economical side.
Yeah. It's I'm getting ready to make the jump into the Vectric stuff, because my sister is getting married and she wants me to do coasters for her.
Right.
And so I got to do some 3D work on that. So I'll get the I'm gonna get the desktop or something like that to get it going. But not bad.
Okay.
But,
Explain to me again how that Bcnc works. Is that what you're putting your G code into?
Yeah. So what I do is when my process is do the work on my regular laptop and download the G code from there and onto a thumb drive. I plug my thumb drive into the Raspberry Pi and then drop that onto the desktop on Raspberry Pi. From there, I open up Bcnc and open the file from that, and it loads it right in.
So in essence, Bcnc takes the place of Mach 3.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Supposedly you can do design work on Bcnc, but I haven't done that. I'm not gonna. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, because for those of you who are a little lost, I would say, as simply as I could put it, you first start in CNC with a design program, such as one of the Vectric programs or something. You import different objects, vectorized images. You create manipulate them in any way, shape, or form, and you create a G code, which is basically a list of instructions which will tell the router exactly where to move, what bit to use, what to cut. I'm simplifying it very simply. And then so that G code, that is your design program. Well, you create the design, and in some cases the design program is the G code generator, but in some cases they're different. So you have the G code generator, it creates your G code. And then you have the CAM software, which will take that list of instructions and interpret it into a series of movements. I mean, we're talking, step by step for the motors and the electronics to directly move your stuff. And that's the Mach 3 software, the Bcnc, just so you know each of the phases: design, G code, and then G code interpretation or CAM software.
Okay.
I don't know if that simplified anything.
Yes. Somebody asked over there in the chat. I don't see it. Oh, yeah. Jerry Bonifield. He wants to know if you got a mic on your headset. I've turned your volume up a little bit.
Oh. Let me see if I can do something here.
I mean, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, we'll just do it this way. See if maybe that'll be a little bit better.
Okay, I can hear you fine. Another question I have, Ryan, is is there any using this kind of a setup? I mean, obviously it's more compact, it's cheaper. Is there any limitations that you might have using this type of setup versus, say, somebody using a regular desktop computer with Mach 3 or UCCNC, like file size or anything like that?
Yeah, the drawback is, oh wow, I just had a moth fly into my head. I'm in the depths of the dungeon down here. It's probably my wife sending stuff down here to kill me. There's drawbacks to it because it's not as fast. Like the Raspberry Pi is not as fast as a regular laptop or anything like that, or desktop. So it's not really advantageous to do design work on it. I've done it a little bit on there, but within 5 minutes I was like, forget about it. I'm just going back to my regular laptop to do it. It's nice that you can just plug it in there, and you set it to go, and it's going. The processing power is the biggest holdback to it. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't use it as my only computer, but for for processing what we're doing. That thing has more than most of the Windows 7's machines that are out there, so it does fine for that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I had another question, and I forgot what it was. Well, let's see. David Battershell says, how many lines of code can that run? Have you ever ran anything where you've ran out of, where it just stopped because of memory issues or something? Because what is it? Doesn't it have like 1 gig of memory on it?
Well, yeah, on board, it's about, I think it's a gig that it has. But, if you're running, I haven't run into any problems yet. And I've been running some multiple hour carves on it, and there hasn't been any issues.
Oh, no issues with crashing or just stop running for.
Yeah, no, none at all. None at all. The Bcnc, it's pretty stable. It's not as flashy as like Mach 3 or something like that, that's kind of sad to say. Mach 3 is flashy.
Yeah.
But it does what it needs to do.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you, Ryan. It's so funny because you mentioned that, and whenever I use Mach 3 or WinCNC, which are roughly the same, all those extra features and looking at the screen, there's a lot of people that use that. I sent my program to print. I know where it's going, or to route. I know where it's going. Once I click cycle start, I don't use it at all. Yeah. I mean, I don't look at it at all. So it makes sense to get something without all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, and especially for just learning the whole process of the CNC work. That was my other thing, is I just wanted to keep it simple at the beginning in case I didn't like it, or why spend, like, initially, why would I want to buy Aspire if I have no idea if I'm ever going to use what Aspire can do?
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to start out with using the.
David Battershell's got a good question. Can you restart at any line with Bcnc?
I haven't had to, so I don't know right offhand. I know I pause it and all that, but I haven't had to start it up at a specific point.
Right, because that is something that I do quite often. Yeah.
Yeah, I've paused a carve, right, and then just left it for a couple hours and come back and just restarted and kept on running. But I haven't had to, it hasn't crashed or anything on me and knock on wood, the power hasn't gone out in the middle of a carve. So, I haven't had to start something over in the middle.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned yesterday when we were talking, Ryan, that you haven't put homing switches or limit switches or anything like that on your machine yet, correct?
Not yet. Yeah, not yet. I plan on it. They're actually sitting, 2 feet away from me. I just haven't gotten around to it. And just like you didn't have any on your machine for years and years.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to throw it into something and crash it anyway. So it really hasn't been all that needed.
Yeah, it's not really a priority at this point. Okay, well, how long have you had your machine? You built a Gatton, right? Is that?
Yeah. Yep, I have a Gatton. Here, I can show everybody. Show you what my setup is out here. Prepare for the scariness that it is. Like I said, I'm down in the basement here, so got my little notes. This is my computer here. Well, this is just a monitor. This is it was an all-in-one computer that I used for a while, and it crashed. So I just use that as a monitor with a wireless keyboard.
Yeah. Now, while you're pointing at that monitor, will the Raspberry work with a touchscreen or not?
This is a touchscreen one, but I don't know. I haven't tried to make it work with it. I'm sure somebody has, though. Yeah, I know you can do smaller screens. They have like 5-inch ones, touch screens that work with the Raspberry Pi. But on something of this size, I don't know. So okay. If you were doing it just as a small, like I think 7-inch screen, you can get one of the Raspberry Pi touch screens, and yeah, that'll work. So if I poke up here, there's my setup, just sitting out on the table. Anybody that's actually taken the time to watch my horrible videos will notice that that is my test rig, and it's just stayed the same way it has been.
Yeah, now that's simplicity right there.
Oh yeah, yes, it's dead simple.
I don't know. Mike Mertzke would have a conniption.
Oh yes, with all my wiring, yes, it's not Mertzke approved.
It's not at 90-degree angles.
Yeah,
no, it's just running.
It actually looks like more like my wiring
and mine.
Yeah, I just wired up all the from the CN or from the hat to the drivers. I just used some Cat 5 cable, and it works fine. It's just sending some signals, and then I ran shielded cable from there to my machine, but it really hasn't been needed. I'm not running into any interference or anything. So, but eventually we're going to be putting it over to where my machine is here on the floor. It looks really low because it's only about 3 inches off the floor at the moment. And that's because I'm going to be building my shop, which will be the next set of horrible videos on my channel.
What a beautiful looking CNC machine.
Tell us about that. It's a wonderful Dave Gatton designed Gatton CNC.
Well, I like it. So
yeah.
Now, while you got it pointed at your machine there, let's do a quick rig rundown of your machine. What size stepper motors do you have on that?
I'm running 420 ounce, the 4.2 amp.
Okay.
So I was trying to keep the same thing as what is normally run on them. The big difference is that my steppers here don't have the little extra bit out there to use a wheel.
Yeah. Well,
this is the only one
either, really.
No, it's not. It would be nice on the Z motor, on the Z axis, but the rest of them, yeah, it wouldn't make too much of a difference for me.
And what kind of router have you got on there? How big of?
I've got the Mighty Sears.
The Mighty Sears. Okay.
Yeah. It's just a Craftsman Sears pile of junk that I got when they were closing down.
Okay. Well,
it
almost looks like a Porter cable without that metal band on the top. So
yeah, it's very similar looking. It's again, it was all about, hey, let's keep the cost down to get this thing up and running and see how I like it. We eventually, when I get over to the shop, it's going to turn into a water cooled spindle. But that wonderful little machine right there, that got me my garage the first day that I turned it on. If you right up above me is my bedroom, and my wife heard me running the machine, and she said, "No, I think you need to order your building." And,
excellent.
Yeah, so that was a nice little bit there. Something that I take pride in my machine. It's kind of it's a little bit of an odd size, and that's because everything that didn't come in Dave's kit, I cut from one sheet of plywood. So my gantry, the gantry is 4 feet wide, and everything else is based off of that. So I used one sheet of plywood for all of the other additional cuts. And so I've got like my X is like 39 inches, and I can go about 54 inches long.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. It's been working well to this point. So
okay. Now, if you would, Ryan, if you can get back to your setup, your
let me go back over here.
There you go. If you can just kind of, we've talked about the hat, make sure people know what we're talking about. And, if you just kind of start over on the left-hand side of that and work your way to the right and kind of let people know where all those things are going.
Sure. So this bottom piece right here, this bottom green, is actually the Raspberry Pi itself. On top of that, the red board is the CNC hat by Protoneer. So whenever I'm doing work and stuff, I plug in my keyboard and stuff right into one of the USB ports, and keep on running. Up here, these little guys, these are removable, and those are the external driver like jumper cable and jumper boxes.
And they plug into the hat.
Yeah, they plug directly into the hat right there.
Gotcha.
And there's 4 of them.
Now, if I remember right from watching your video, you had to solder those up, right? They didn't come with the pins already in them.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my wonderful soldering job, getting those in there, and haven't had any issues with it. So so far it's been working.
Okay. Well, while I'm thinking about this question, since there is some soldering involved, what would you say is the degree of difficulty? I mean, you don't have a background in electronics or anything, right?
No. I just for my own peace of mind, I watched a couple extra videos on soldering electronics and went after it.
Okay.
So and it really wasn't difficult to do.
So somebody who's like me that doesn't have a background in electronics shouldn't be intimidated by some of the stuff you have to do to get this to work.
No, you've seen me, Dave. This is the kind of person that can do this work, so it's not very difficult at all.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead with your little tour there.
Sure. On this side of the hat over here, you can do your stops and all that good stuff over there if you want to. It's not gonna hurt anything. Moving over here.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So the back part of the hat is basically the 4 data ports, power and data ports going into your drivers, and the side is like a breakout board in essence.
Exactly. Yes.
Got it.
Yep. And it's connected to the Raspberry Pi. You can kind of see it down here, but it's only connected to the Raspberry Pi right at this little section right here.
Right.
So it's not even using all the GPIO pins that you could. I would think, I haven't tried it, but I would think you could do other stuff still with the Raspberry Pi even in this configuration. So the big thing the only complaint that I had when I got this, which wasn't a complaint about the hat or anything else like that, is that and at the moment I don't have a 3D printer, so there's a case for this setup on Thingiverse, but if you don't have a 3D printer, you're kind of up the creek.
I know somebody who's got one of those.
Yeah, I think Dave has just volunteered to send you a box.
I'll find that on Thingiverse and make you one, send it to you.
Oh no, I would wait a week because I've informed my wife that my birthday's next week.
Oh, okay. I don't want to blow that for you.
I don't know if she remembers that my birthday's next week, but I happened to remind her. But anyway, so what I did is you can kind of see them down here. I got little standoffs right at the bottom there just to get it up off the ground and so that the board wasn't just sitting on a surface.
Yeah, and I like the little postage cardboard you got.
David Batter was asking how many inputs on the opposite side there. How many inputs does it take? Inputs, outputs?
There's 4, 8, 12 altogether. But they're labeled for different items. If I kick a table again, that'd be awesome. That's the downside of having your CNC on the ground is that you kick it. Right up here, these are the end stops. Whoops. The end stops are here. And then the center section is like the probes and all that. And then I can't.
But could you configure any one of those to be an input or an output?
I believe you can.
Okay.
But I think they're like pre-configured to be, for stops or what have you. But it wouldn't be too bad to change it.
Yeah.
So then here's how I have my drivers all attached, and the Mirsky approved wiring. Yeah. But it's really simple. It just plugs right on in. They're 48-volt drivers. And they work out pretty well. like I said, I mean, I've run them several hours and they don't even get warm to the touch.
Yeah, and those you said those were 542 drivers, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
What particular brand are those?
They're from Stepper Online.
Okay. I was going to say they look exactly like the ones I bought from Stepper Online. So that's why I was thinking they might be there.
Yeah. They've been working fine. They haven't skipped a beat, so they've been real happy with it. And then I've got my power supply at the end there.
So for those of you following along, the stepper drivers actually take the data and the low voltage on one side and basically send data and higher amperage voltage to the stepper motors. They basically run the stepper motors.
Now you guys are stuck with my pretty face.
There we go.
It's only a face that your mother could love, and my mother doesn't talk to me anymore. No,
you're like me. I've got a face for radio.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have to say, I don't know what you think, Javi, but I like that little simple, clean setup.
I'll tell you, I like it so much. I've got a future CNC build, CNC Gatton related build that I am very much going to shoot for a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, it surpassed my expectations of what I was going to get out of it. It's not the greatest, and but it does the job, and it works fine.
Grant is asking if you're ready or if you can turn it on.
Yeah, I was going to ask if there's any chance where you can turn it on where we can see the Bcsc.
Yeah, I can. Well, I can do. It'll be. You'll be looking at it through my phone because it's. I don't have it plugged into my internet. And
right.
But yeah, hold on a second. I'll get it turned on here.
You're still sharing, Dave.
Okay, yeah.
Don't get any ideas on my wonderful basement. Oh, oops. There we go. I better plug that. I gotta plug that driver back in first.
All right. Well, while we're waiting for Ryan to get set up to show us that, we'll do a few shout outs here. We've got Sean Martyr in the house, Frankie CNC and Woodworking, Thomas Grimm, Joe Downard, David Mitchell, David Battershell. Hey, David, how you doing? I haven't seen him on here in a while. Grant,
Ron is reminding you, Ryan, to put your chip back in.
Yeah, I just put it back in.
Thanks, Ron.
Todd H. CNC, Keith Allen, Ron Godot, I guess. I'm not sure how you say that. Dwayne, Jerry Bonifield. Glad y'all are with us tonight. How many, and again, since we're waiting on Ryan to get set up there, how many of you guys over there in the chat think you might use a Raspberry Pi setup like this at some point? I know a couple, I think Joe Downer or somebody said he is already using one.
I forgot one thing. I'll be right back.
Okay. Gary Bonifield says, did you get a wiring diagram and parts list with it? I know that, like I said, if you look down in the description of this video, I put the links to the two videos where Ryan is showing how to wire this thing up. Now, Rob says he's got a Raspberry Pi, but not on his CNC cards. He's a Linux guy. to have Rob on the show again too, where we've been kind of covering the Mach 3s and the UC CNC, and now Raspberry Pi. We need to give the Linux CNC a little airtime too, I guess.
A little love, yeah.
David Roby says, yes, I would like to explore the Raspberry Pi.
David Mitchell earlier was asking me if I was referring in my conversation to Slicer program, and for those of you who are unfamiliar with 3D CNC routing and are mostly familiar with 3D printers, the concepts are all the same, except a slicing program. The 3D printer programs go layer by layer, so you'll need a slicing program which basically converts. It's in essence a G-code program, but will go layer by layer, specific to a 3D printer, whereas a CNC router will just go wherever, up, down, left, right, wherever the program decides, the design decides to carve in multiple directions.
I'm laughing. Bubba Hope says,
Yeah.
real nice shirt, Dave. Gift from Grant Davis.
It is. I like the shirt.
Wasn't from Grant, but I like wearing this shirt. Too bad Grant Davis isn't watching tonight.
Well, I got it pulled up here, Dave.
Okay, cool. Let me present you again.
Yeah, and Mark also reminds us you can slice models in VCarve and Aspire.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is Bcnc. This is the standard window. So I've got everything turned on now. So all you do is when you open it up, you open up your port to the Raspberry Pi, and up here it'll change. So now it's open, and here we'll open up a file. We'll do Jurassic Park. It'll take a second for it to load in there. Let's see here, where's that? There it is. There we go. Oh, I just lost it. There it is. So this is a recent project that I just did for my son. Just as it's a little Jurassic Park logo with his name in there instead. And it's not going to show. I have it set right now not to show all the detail, like of all the passes and everything. But you can set it to download more of that visual information, which is it's real simple to do, but it's not necessary. It's going to be there. But anyway, so you open up a file and bring it in there, and then up here you're going to just hit Control, and here's all your controls for the X, Y, and Z are here. You can set it to how far you want it to go per click. So if you'll be able to hear it here in a second.
Oh, for jogging?
Yeah. So you're doing it. Yeah. Well, I'm not connected to the machine at the moment for some reason, but yeah, you can jog it around here at whatever increments that you want to. There's and then you have your feed override over here. You can, it's
I can see, just looking at what you're showing so far, is that this would be really good for somebody who is brand spanking new at CNC.
Oh yeah.
Because you're not, when you open up Mach 3 or UC CNC, you might be intimidated by all those buttons and different features, and you're like, well, what all does this do? Well, this is a nice, clean, just what you need on this stuff.
Yeah, it gets you running, and for some people, you just don't need crazy bells and whistles.
That's right.
And for me, I don't need crazy bells and whistles at the moment. There's different probes that you can do. Bcnc is pretty customizable. They actually have a probe that you can hook up a camera to, and do your XY off of from a camera shot instead of jogging around.
Oh, from a camera. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking. I haven't gotten one to set it up yet because I'm lazy, but it works fine. Yeah, there's other tools and an editor. Like I said, you can change stuff on here, but I don't even bother. It's I just use it to run the G code.
The editor will show the G code.
I black. I don't know. I'm hitting buttons that I've never even hit before.
Oh, okay. I don't want to mess you up, but
no, it's not going to mess me up.
Okay,
it's fine. Yeah, but the biggest challenge of this whole project for me was getting the settings proper, because you can get into you click into the terminal, the GRBL terminal, and tell it to do different things.
Todd's asking a good question. How do you set 0 on your CNC?
Real simple.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here at control, and right up, I get it to wherever I want it to be, and then I just hit X, Y, and Z 0 right there in the middle.
Yeah, I guess that's work position and machine position, I'm assuming, is what a POS and MPOS means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't even, you got your G54s and all that stuff down here that you can set different ones to.
Yeah.
I haven't even bothered. It's, I get my work piece mounted on there and set 0 from there and run with it. So once I get my homing switches put in someday, I'll play with those some more. But right now, it's doing the job just fine without it.
Yeah, I like it myself. I've really enjoyed watching you show how this stuff works because, like I said, I've had this starter kit for, I don't know, a few months now, I guess. And I've got a little project in mind and something that I think this would be perfect for. And not only that, it would be fun to play around with something different than the same old thing I always do.
Yeah, it's good. It's not. I don't know. I don't need a Tesla. I like my old Volkswagens.
Well, like you mentioned earlier, I ran machines for years without even. I didn't even have drag chain. I just had the cables would flop around, and I just had to make sure they didn't get in the way or get stretched and pull the plug apart. And no homing switches or anything. And there's nothing wrong with Simple. Simple works fine.
Yep, there's my drag chain.
Do you have a Keith was asking? Do you have a touch plate on yours by any chance?
No, I don't have a touch plate on it yet.
But it would be a simple matter, right? Just hook it to one of the inputs.
Yeah, there's a probe input right on the board,
right?
And just you plug right into it and go from there.
Cool.
I just haven't. It really hasn't been needed yet. So it's one of the things I want to do, but I just haven't plugged it in.
And setting the not to complicate matters much, but setting the steps for the on the steppers and all that. That's all in the setup program in the beginning, or
the steps on the
steps per inch for for different screws.
That's where that took a little bit of fiddling to get to, and you had to do that through the terminal on Bcnc. But you bring up all the settings. I forget what the command is. It's like.
So there's a configuration file of sorts.
Yeah, it gives you all the settings of what everything is, and then you can go in there and change them. And I had to initially when I fired it up the first time, my 2-inch square was like 6 inches wide or something like that, and And so, scaled it down until I got it within, I think I got it within like 2/100ths of an inch or something like that.
All told, aside from the 300 you spent in the hardware, or 270, what are you looking at? I mean, the rest of the software is free, or came with it, or
it's all free.
So that's it. And if I may ask, what do you have total in the machine at the low point? If there, do you have that number?
Right offhand, I don't have that number, but it's pretty simple to come up with. Dave, how much is the kit right now?
Well, if you buy the parts kit, it's like $260.
All right.
And then you got lead screws and
then you're looking at.
And
I've got less than 1,000.
Oh yeah, far less. Mine was less than 1,000, and I've got the Xylotex.
Yeah.
Xylotex. So
yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah, probably I'd guess 7 in the 750 range.
I wouldn't doubt it at all. Yeah, it's low because it was just I used when I did the lead screws for the table, the only one I cut was the X. The other two are 6 feet long, and there's 2 inches sticking out the end down here. And the piece that I cut off from the X axis is what I used on the Z. So, and I think I still had about.
That's true. If you make one of the sides 3 foot, then you're looking at one less lead screw is $40.
Yeah. If you went with a smaller table, and I went with as big of a table as I could with 1 sheet of plywood, and all the scrap that I had, it was about a 3 by 3 inch square. Is all the scrap that I had out of that. And that was cutting all the pieces that don't come in the kit.
Nice.
Okay, Landis, I want to try to get to some of these. We've got a couple of questions over there. Landis Stutz says, is there a complete listing of all the parts needed for a Raspberry for a Gatton? I think we can kind of just rattle those off right quick. You've got a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, you would need a Raspberry Pi. You'd want your the Protoneer CNC hat. You would want the Protoneer external driver little things, and then your power supply, which I went with a 48 volt one, but you don't have to go with 48 volt. You can go lower if you want.
Your 4 drivers.
And then the stepper drivers, which I went with the 542 Ts.
Okay, and that kind of leads into the next question. Keith Allen was asking about, does the Raspberry Pi support the 1/8, quarter, or half step? And I'm assuming you're setting that on the
drivers themselves.
The drivers themselves with the little dip switches.
Yeah.
Do you have any samples? I hate to put you on the spot, but do you have any samples of any of your work?
I can go grab it real quick.
Yeah. I'd love to see it.
Give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Got Jim Bashir's in the house. How you doing, Jim? Good to see you.
I was hoping Steve Nealon was out there. He might be quiet, so I can blame him for having me buy this stupid large family pack of M&Ms. I've been munching on these all night.
I wish I had some now that you've held them up there.
I'm telling you. Okay, that's it. I gotta stop this. I'm not worried about my weight. I'm worried about my headache. If I eat too much chocolate, I get headaches.
Yeah, I think we covered this question. I see Thomas Grimm says, how much money do you have in the controllers, hardware, software? He said he had what, about two?
I got about 275 in it.
275? Okay.
Not including shipping.
All right, let me present.
All right. So this is you can kind of see it. I might have to go back a little bit further. This is a project I did for my wife for her birthday. She's a Metallica fan.
Yeah.
She saw a poster.
Good song.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when she walked down the aisle, it was to One. We got married on the beach, and we had a guitarist play One for her.
Okay.
But, Yeah, so it's this is actually a new piece of pine that I weathered and aged with a couple different stains to make it look old and crappy, and then carved in all the letters and painted them.
Yeah. I think I've seen you post that on Facebook before. That I like that. That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fun one. I could grab some other stuff, but the kid's sleeping, so I can't get in there now. But yeah, that's pretty good. If you go on, what is it? R Ballard Designs on Facebook. I got some stuff on there that I did.
No, David, M&M could never take the place of Diet Coke. That's always a staple with me.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody else over there in the chat have any other questions they want to ask Brian about the Raspberry Pi or the CNC?
Well, I've got another one here. With the can you run multiple tool changes? Can you run code with that one where you could tell it to pause when it'll go to 0? You could tell it to tell you to switch bits and then continue. In other words, have 3 or 4 bits in one run, or do you have to run each G code is each bit?
Yeah, you'd run each G code as each bit. I would assume that you could do it as one file, but at this point I haven't done that. Like I said, I'm using Easel for most of my creating.
Right.
And so when you do their G code, it gives you a roughing pass and a detail pass. So it I would assume that you could. Somebody else that has Vectric or something like that could probably use that. And
I would think that Bcsc would recognize all the usual G code and N code. So I think you probably could do it. I'll let you know. I think we're probably going to have to do a follow-up show on this in a few weeks as I play with mine, because I know I'm going to get. I've got the starter kit, but I've got to get the hat and the drivers and stuff. But yeah, I definitely want to play around with this. I think this is a pretty neat little setup.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt at all that it would work fine. It's just my process right now doesn't.
Keith is asking if the Raspberry Pi works with Mach 3. Have you ever tried that?
I don't think it does.
Oh, okay.
I've not seen it run on a Raspberry Pi. Everybody that I've seen that's used a Raspberry Pi for controlling, they usually use CNC.js or Bcnc. I haven't seen anybody do it with Mach 3.
Gotta look into that.
Let's see. Thomas says, if the electronics were enclosed, would it need a fan?
I don't think so. I would probably put one in there just because. But like I said, it being open air, it doesn't even get warm to the touch.
Well, I would think that if you enclosed it, the external drivers is what you would need the fan blowing across, not so much the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah. Yeah, and my original thought was back where the gantry sits, when the machine's not being in that dark zone, that last 9 inches or so on the table. I was thinking that's where I was going to put it. But when it gets out to the shop, I'll probably mount it all underneath, and just in case I'm doing some long projects that need to fit through there, it'll be nice not to have a stop at that section. But if I enclose it all in, I'll throw a fan or two in there, one in and one out, and monitor the temperature. But so far, it just hasn't been needed.
Okay. I saw some more questions over there. Let me see where they were.
Yeah, Robin and Todd were reminding me that Raspberry Pi runs Linux and, its own operating system, which I understand. I'm just wondering if it could run as I don't know what you would call it, bridged mode or enslaved mode, or in some mode where all it is just a plain Jane driver and just accept commands. But I guess not. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, Ron says they make small heat sinks for the pie chips, and yeah, I've got them somewhere in this box.
Well, Ryan has one in between the boards. He's actually saw a heat sink there, so I mean, it's would make
got
sense
a heat sink
just
on it,
cool
even with the board on it. Yeah, I put that on there. Originally, I'm a solar guy, so the whole reason I even got the pie to begin with was for I was trying to work on a disconnecting computer thing that would disconnect a solar array from somebody's house for them remotely, and started playing with that project, and then got interested in CNC stuff, and kind of forgot about that other project for the moment. But we'll have to get another one and keep working on that other project. But,
okay, Rick over there wants to know how long you've been using this setup.
Since last November, I think is when I first got it fired up. I
know you did a project for the CNC Christmas Challenge, so
yeah, that was like the first big project that I tried.
Yeah,
and,
so I guess if you were going to have any issues, you would have had some by now.
I would think so. I mean, like I said, I'm running this thing for. I'm not doing like one of Mirsky's big wings that he did, where it was running for almost like a week or whatever it was carving. But I've done some 4 or 5 hour long carves, and they've been fine.
Yeah, I'd be curious to do a long run. I mean, the biggest run I've ever had was like 500,000 lines, which ran for 50 hours. But I'd love to see how something like that would handle this. Probably wouldn't break a sweat.
I don't think so. I mean, there's nothing. It's just running the commands.
Yeah, if after 5 hours it doesn't even get hot to the touch, I mean. Yeah.
Leo Steger wants to know what's the longest carve you've done so far with that.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 hours.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's an Aztec calendar easily.
Yeah,
A big one. I think the 22-inch diameter I used to do was around 3.5 hours, I think.
Yeah.
So it can do 3D.
Yeah, because that's all in G code.
Yeah, I mean it really should be able to do anything, well, within reason, I guess, of Mach 3 or UCCNC and everything else. It's just a much smaller, compact unit because basically, I mean, I've got mine's in the case here, but basically that's a computer.
Yeah, what most people are using these things for is the game emulators and all that. So it'd be kind of fun to put that stuff on the Pi while I'm running CNC stuff. And
that's actually one of the reasons I bought this starter kit. I was going to build an arcade thing, but I've kind of since talked myself out of it because I'm just not a gamer. I'm old school when it comes to the games, Pac-Man and Pong stuff.
Hey, Dave, on a completely different subject, because I saw the film digitizer in the background there. How many films have you transferred so far?
Well, you know how it has the little number. I think the number's on like 84, but there's been a few times where I've had to stop it, and of course it counts that as one. I think I've done probably between 60 and 70 reels of film so far.
Nice.
Yeah, having a ball doing it. I mean, just a flood of memories because some of these things I haven't been on a projector and anybody watching in probably 40 years.
Let me focus on Ryan. Hang on a second, Ryan. Let's get you to show that once again because it wasn't zoomed in on you there.
Oh, no, it's all right. This is a failed one that I was doing for somebody for a wedding gift, but
it's nice.
The little stacked text one.
Yep.
It's cedar, so it like tore out like crazy, but it turned out pretty like the one that they actually gave him was pretty good. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, well, folks, we're right on an hour here. Is anybody else got any questions they want to hit Ryan up with?
Bob's asking about is there any way to connect a game controller or a pendant on the unit?
I've seen some people do it, and one of the Xbox controllers.
Yeah, I would imagine it's just plugging it into USB and adding some extra code, but
yeah, it's not difficult to do. I was going to do it, but my kids don't have the right Xbox controller, so I couldn't steal one of them.
Well, on mine, I went cheap, and instead of at the time spending $50 on an Xbox controller, I bought one of these knockoffs for about $10. And I got it for free. This program called XMapper. Granted, it's a Windows program, but I'm wondering if there's any type of joystick mapping program for the Pi that you could use just about any joystick on it and make it seem like it's a keyboard.
Oh yeah, you can, because I mean everybody uses them as a gaming computer anyway, so it definitely can recognize the different controllers and all that. So it's
Jim Bashir's wants to know, where did you find the Pi software to run the CNC? I guess he's talking about the Bcnc.
Yeah, the Protoneer has a forum that a lot of people were talking about with them, but now the newest version, the 2.6, which is the newest one, mine's a 2.58. The 2.6 comes with the latest version of the GRBL on it, and also it has Bcnc, Laser Web 3, so you can throw a laser on this thing, CNC JS and UGS. It has it all already installed on it.
Okay, so that comes with the hat, the CNC.
Yeah, that's what I was looking it up again today just to see if they had changed anything, and it says it's already installed on the hat. If not, it's all free software and you can go download it. It wasn't too hard. If I can figure it out, it's not difficult to do. I mean, granted, it's impressive to grow a goatee like I have, but it's not hard to put stuff on a Raspberry Pi. It really isn't.
Okay. Any other questions, folks? We're about ready to sign off here. I think we pretty much covered everything. Javi, you got anything else you want to ask Ryan before we go?
Anything else at the time, but I'll keep his number in mind for when I start goofing around with that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Anybody can hit me up on Facebook or wherever. It's no big deal. I'm more than happy to try to help and give back a little bit to this community that's helped me out.
It looks like fun. One last question. What profile do you use? Just standard G code?
Yeah.
I mean, when you create the G code, there's no particular machine profile.
Nope. It was just the standard
universal G code. Yeah.
Yes, I would assume, like if in our case, Javi, if we're using a Spire or V card, we could just use the regular Mach 3 post processor just like we do, and it would generate the right G code for it to run.
Yeah, it's just a standard. It'll accept whatever you throw at it. It seems like it does a good job.
Todd HCNC says, "Do you know how big a file you could run?" I guess when you're trying to load it into that Bcnc, if it's too big, you probably get some kind of
I would assume it would tell you, hey, this is too big. I haven't run into that, even with a 4 or 5 hour carve. It probably would be pretty easy to find out if there's a maximum, but I haven't seen, nothing's jumping out at me that says, hey, it's got to be this good or this size or smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess if nobody else has any other questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Like I said, I can see another kind of a follow-up Raspberry Pi show in the near future with, maybe showing laser stuff and, the homing switches and whatever else, all those other inputs that are on there. I've got another little project in mind I'm going to do, and I think this will be just the thing to play around with. So I'm pretty excited about learning about these things.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. We've got still 50, almost 60 folks watching over there. I appreciate you guys. If you've enjoyed this and got anything out of it, please hit the thumbs up on the way out. Feel free to leave a comment down below. And before I forget, I haven't even done this. Almost forgot. But, last week we were talking about, instead of having some silly phrase to put in the comment thing, I asked folks to write, what they like the most about CNC. And I went through that. We had, I forget how many comments. We had a bunch of comments. And I went through and I read every one of them. And the one that I picked as my favorite comment, and I don't know if he is out there in the chat or not, but again, once I say your name, if you watching this now or you watch it later, remember, in order to claim your free set of Gatton CNC plans, you need to send me an email to davegatton@atnt.net. But the comment that I found the most interesting, and I'm not going to read it all because it's really long, but it was by, and I think I've been saying this guy's name wrong, Gerard Tano. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph here. Like I said, I printed it out, and you can see it's pretty long comment. But he says, Dave, there are a few things I like about CNC. First and foremost is the community and how folks like you help others and encourage us to work together for everyone's benefit. I'd have to say that's not only my favorite thing, but that is the deciding factor in why I will be building a Gatton CNC when I'm ready. And then he goes on to talk about some other stuff. But thank you very much for that comment, Gerard. And I apologize. I think I was calling him Gerald the other day because I probably didn't have my glasses on. Okay, yeah, he's in the chat. Yep. Gerard, I hope I'm saying your name right. If you would, be sure and send me an email to davegatton@atnt.net, and I will get you your free set of Gatton CNC plans. So thank you very much for your comment.
Yeah, I agree on that. That's the community that is in the CNC world, especially the Gatton CNC world, is the whole reason that I'm playing with mine. Is everybody that I've met on here, talked to. I know I initially, when I was looking at doing a machine, I was looking at the old X-Carve and ran across Mr. Chipser over there. And he's the one that pointed me in the direction of Dave's machine, and the whole community has been really awesome, and everybody's really willing to jump in and help and figure out what's going on. And
absolutely. And if I may add to that, it's not only is it the help and the education, the assistance, but the motivation, the pushing, because there have been times where I already built my machine and I did some projects, and all the newness, the new shine of the new car is gone. Well, you've got challenges from the community. You've got friends that in the community that urge you to do more, and you've got people that just do their own projects, which encourage you to do more. So people underestimate that sometimes. They keep the fun going. Not just educate you, but motivate you.
Yeah, and if I could just add too, we talk about community. I don't want to dish any CNC communities, but I think we've got something special here with the Gatton and the Garage Works, because I'm not trying to get those Facebook groups or that forum that my website hosts. I'm not trying to get it super huge and get just anybody in there. We're all, it's all about either Gatton CNC or Garage Works CNC. So we're kind of a tight knit group, and we don't have any of those. What's the word I'm looking for? Some of the other groups, and like I said, I'm not trying to bash them, but I'm just saying I think we have the best one out of all of them, because I know in those other ones you see guys getting kind of a pissing match about, some guys don't even want to talk about plywood CNCs, and I'm like, I'll put mine up against anybody's.
Yeah, this entire woodworking community is not only supportive is the word, but they don't get jealous. If anything, they're proud when their friends in the community make something, and they again supportive, but they get I know I get a thrill when I see anybody else create something fancy. I get a joy. I push them to do more of that, not turn around and get jealous. Oh, they're better than me, or
yeah. Well, I've found that I've actually had to leave a lot of the other CNC groups that I was in, because I found that you can't even comment in some of them, because there's always somebody that wants to throw mud at you. So I'm like, I'll just stick to my little group of folks. I keep the like I said, I'm not trying to get big numbers. I keep the group small. It's growing as it should, not just trying to let any Tom, Dick,
I pretty much put it in a nutshell. Keep it local.
Yeah, and that's and it's working well. But I do want to remind folks, if you're watching the show, or maybe you don't even know it, there are links to the community forum down below in the show description. I think I've got links to the Facebook groups. If not, they're not hard to find. It's Gatton CNC, and then there's one for people that have Garage Works CNCs. So feel free to, even if you don't have a CNC, feel free to join those, and you can learn a lot just by watching other folks' comments. And one last thing I wanted to mention, Javi mentioned some of the projects. If you notice today on both Facebook groups, Garage Works and Gatton CNC, I encourage people to show us what you've been making, and it's just, I'm totally blown away sometimes at the stuff people are making, particularly on the Gatton CNCs. And I say that because, it is a plywood machine and all that, a hobby machine. But some of the stuff these guys and gals are making with their machines is it just blows my mind every time I post something like that and say, hey, show us what you've been working on. And then I see all these great projects. It blows me away. It really does. So, all right. I guess we're going to get at Ryan. I can't thank you enough, buddy, for coming on here and enlightening me about the Raspberry Pi. I'm excited to plug this sucker up and do something with it now.
I appreciate it, and hope it doesn't disappoint.
Well, I know if I got any questions, I know who to call.
Yeah, there you go.
I know who to call.
Yeah. It's been fun. I've definitely enjoyed myself, and I'm glad I could answer a few questions, even if they were not very good answers. So
you did a great job.
Fun. Extremely informative. Yeah. Yeah, well, you sold us on Raspberry Pi, so you did something right.
Well, I bought stock in them, and
there you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this one up, folks. We're a little over an hour here. Like I said, I appreciate y'all tuning in and watching tonight. If you got something out of this show and enjoyed it, leave a thumbs up and leave a comment too. Tell me what you like or don't like about this show. You're not gonna hurt my feelings.
You won't hurt mine either.
I've heard it all, so there's nothing you can say that's it's going to hurt my feelings in the comments. But love to have your comments. And also, nothing else, just put down there what you'd like to see in future shows, because I look for those comments to get ideas for, that's what I want to do. I don't want to get on there and just talk about some kind of CNC stuff. I want to talk about the stuff that you guys want to know about. So that's what we'll do.
All right. Put more Ryan.
There you go. Yeah, more Ryan. We'll have you back. You got this hangout thing figured out, so we'll have you back, and we'll do another follow-up Raspberry Pi show.
You got it.
All right, guys. Everybody have a great weekend. Thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all next week. Everybody take care.